McLaren is supposedly facing disqualification after Lando Norris stole pole position in Hungary by just 12 thousandths of a second. A suspicious upgrade, alleged irregularities, an FIA inspection, and a pole position that could supposedly vanish before the race even begins. But there is one massive problem. The verified evidence does not confirm that the FIA found anything illegal on Norris's McLaren. No prohibited component has been identified. No special technical investigation into the car has been confirmed. And no credible source says McLaren is actually facing disqualification. So how did Norris's first pole of the season become a full-scale cheating scandal? Because McLaren arrived with an upgraded MCL40, Norris produced a lap of 1 minute, 17.207 seconds, and Lewis Hamilton missed pole by less time than the human eye can process. Then routine post-qualifying checks were transformed into something much darker. And while the supposed investigation into Norris's car appears unsupported, the FIA did open 2 real investigations after qualifying. One involved Lewis Hamilton. The other involved Kimi Antonelli. And when you discover what those cases were actually about, the entire McLaren disqualification story begins to collapse. Subscribe to the channel, because the detail that destroys this accusation may also reveal why McLaren's rivals have a much bigger problem than anyone expected. To understand why this accusation exploded so quickly, you have to start with the size of the gap. 12 thousandths of a second. That was all that separated Lando Norris from Lewis Hamilton in Hungary. Norris stopped the clock at 1 minute, 17.207 seconds. Hamilton was only 12 thousandths slower. That is not a comfortable pole position. That is not domination. That is a result balanced on the edge of one tiny movement. One slightly cleaner exit. One better braking point. One moment when the tires gave exactly the right amount of grip. That is all it takes. And when the difference is that small, every detail suddenly looks important. The steering input, the tire temperature, the car's weight, the shape of the floor, the way the bodywork moves through the air. Even a change that saves almost no time can decide who starts first. That is why McLaren's upgrade package immediately became the center of attention. The MCL40 arrived in Hungary with new developments. Then Norris produced his first pole position of the season. That sequence created the perfect conditions for suspicion. New parts arrive. Performance improves. The winning margin becomes almost impossible to measure. Then officials begin their normal post-qualifying checks. To anyone watching from the outside, those events can look connected. But looking connected does not mean they prove the same thing. And this is where the story began to change. The verified source confirms that McLaren's upgrade package was linked to Norris's improved performance. That part is real. But it does not confirm that the package was illegal. It does not identify a prohibited component. It does not describe a failed technical test. And it does not say that the FIA found irregularities on Norris's car. That distinction is everything. Because Formula One teams are always searching for tiny improvements. Not half a second. Not even 1/10. Sometimes they are searching for a few thousandths. A small gain under braking. A little more control when the car changes direction. A cleaner flow of air around the bodywork. A better feeling through one important corner. None of those changes needs to look dramatic. The car may appear almost identical. The driver may still complain about certain areas. But if the upgrade removes one small hesitation, the stopwatch notices. Imagine trying to open a heavy door. At first, the hinge resists. You can still move it, but some of your effort is wasted. Then someone adds a small amount of oil. The door does not become lighter. You do not become stronger. The movement simply becomes cleaner. That is how a successful Formula One upgrade can work. It does not need to transform the entire car. It only needs to remove a little resistance. And for Norris, a little was enough. 12 thousandths was enough. That is the first reason the disqualification claim becomes difficult to support. McLaren did not suddenly find an enormous advantage. Norris barely escaped Hamilton. If there had been a hidden device delivering overwhelming speed, the result did not show it. Ferrari was still right there. Hamilton was close enough that one tiny difference could have reversed the order. And that makes the real story more tense. McLaren had improved. But McLaren had not escaped. Ferrari remained close enough to punish any weakness. That is why Norris's reaction after qualifying mattered. Even with pole position secured, he said he had expected a little more from the weekend. That does not sound like a driver celebrating complete control. It sounds like a driver who knows the result was fragile. He had achieved the best possible starting position. But the gap gave him no comfort. Hamilton had almost taken it. Ferrari had almost stolen the front of the grid. And the race would demand much more than one perfect lap. But before the race could even begin, the language around McLaren started becoming more aggressive. First, people talked about the upgrade. Then they talked about inspection. Then inspection became scrutiny. Scrutiny became investigation. And investigation became irregularities. Finally, irregularities became disqualification. That is how a technical process can be transformed into a scandal before any confirmed breach exists. The words become stronger. The evidence does not. A Formula One car being inspected after qualifying is normal. The cars can be weighed. Their dimensions can be checked. Officials can verify that they comply with the regulations. Those procedures exist because the sport cannot simply trust that every car is legal. It must check. But being checked does not mean being accused. Think of a passenger going through airport security. The bag is scanned. The documents are examined. Sometimes an item is inspected more closely. That does not mean the passenger has committed a crime. It means the security process is working. Formula One scrutineering follows the same basic idea. The pole-winning car is not above inspection. The slowest car is not automatically ignored. Officials apply procedures to confirm legality. That process is not proof of wrongdoing. And according to the verified source, there was no confirmed special technical investigation into Norris's McLaren after qualifying. No illegal trick was identified. No technical irregularity was reported. No threat of disqualification was established. That means the most explosive part of the accusation was also the least supported. But the rumor still felt believable. And there was a reason. The FIA really did open investigations after qualifying. 2 of them. That gave the wider story a layer of truth. The problem was that neither investigation concerned the legality of Norris's car. One involved Lewis Hamilton. The other involved Kimi Antonelli. The Hamilton case concerned an alleged obstruction of Oscar Piastri at the first corner during the final qualifying session. That was a real FIA matter. A Ferrari driver may have affected a McLaren driver. But the McLaren driver was Piastri, not Norris. And the issue was traffic, not technical legality. Then came Antonelli's investigation. He was examined over a possible yellow flag violation after Max Verstappen spun during the final qualifying session. Again, that was real. Again, it did not involve McLaren's car. The FIA was examining how Antonelli responded to danger on the circuit. Did he slow sufficiently? Did he respect the warning? Did he react as the regulations required? Those were legitimate questions. But they did not prove anything about Norris's upgrade package. This is where separate facts were pushed together. McLaren had upgrades. Norris took pole. The FIA opened investigations. All true. But the conclusion that McLaren had been caught with irregularities was not supported by the verified information. That final connection was created by speculation. And once the speculation appeared, every normal detail began to look suspicious. The tiny winning margin became evidence. The new parts became evidence. The routine checks became evidence. Even Norris's cautious reaction became evidence. But that is not how proof works. A close result does not prove cheating. A successful upgrade does not prove cheating. An inspection does not prove cheating. And an FIA investigation into other drivers does not prove cheating. The source supports a much simpler sequence. McLaren introduced updates. Norris found enough speed to take pole. Hamilton finished 12 thousandths behind. The FIA examined 2 separate incidents involving Hamilton and Antonelli. No confirmed technical case was opened against Norris's car. That is the factual foundation. But this does not make McLaren's performance less significant. It makes it more significant. Because if the gain was legal, rivals cannot expect officials to remove it. They have to understand it. They have to answer it. They have to become faster. An illegal advantage can be banned. A legal advantage has to be beaten. And that is why the upgrade package may be much more important than the rumor surrounding it. The source does not tell us exactly which component delivered the lap time. It does not provide enough detail to claim that one specific part transformed the car. But the overall effect was clear enough. Norris found performance. McLaren reached pole. And the team received confirmation that its development had produced a result. That confirmation matters. Formula One upgrades do not always work. A new part can make the car harder to balance. It can improve one corner and damage another. It can look promising in simulations, then disappoint on the circuit. So when a package contributes to pole position, even by a tiny margin, the team learns something valuable. The engineers gain confidence in the direction. The driver gains confidence in the car. Future development becomes more focused. That can affect far more than one weekend. But there is another side to that confidence. The margin was still only 12 thousandths. McLaren had found enough. Ferrari had almost found more. That meant Norris would begin the race with pole position, but not with security. Hamilton would be beside him. Ferrari had already shown that its pace was real. One stronger start could erase Saturday's advantage immediately. One better strategy could reverse the order. One tire problem could expose McLaren over a full race distance. And that is why the race mattered more than the accusation. Qualifying measures one lap. The Grand Prix tests everything. Heavy fuel, tire management, traffic, changing temperatures, strategy, pressure. A car can feel perfect for one qualifying lap and become difficult after many laps. A package can improve sharpness without creating long-run control. A driver can produce one brilliant moment, then spend the race defending. The source does not confirm how McLaren's upgrade would behave under those conditions. That uncertainty remains. And it is much more important than an unsupported disqualification claim. Because Norris's real threat was not a confirmed FIA punishment. It was Hamilton. It was Ferrari. It was the possibility that McLaren had won Saturday by the smallest margin imaginable, without building enough advantage to control Sunday. That is the hidden tension behind the pole. Norris had first place. But Ferrari had proof that McLaren could be reached. And while the internet focused on supposed irregularities, McLaren's engineers were facing a more serious question. Had the new package made the MCL40 genuinely stronger over a full race distance, or had Norris simply delivered one perfect lap at exactly the right moment? Because if the upgrade only helped for one lap, the advantage could disappear quickly. But if it worked in the race as well, then the real problem would not belong to McLaren. It would belong to everyone trying to catch them. And this is where the story stops being about suspicion, and starts becoming about pressure. Because while McLaren was being dragged into claims of irregularities, the FIA's real attention was focused somewhere else. Lewis Hamilton was under investigation for allegedly obstructing Oscar Piastri at the first corner during the final part of qualifying. That detail matters. Because Piastri was the McLaren driver connected to a genuine FIA investigation. But he was not accused of driving an illegal car. He was the driver who may have been affected by someone else. That is a completely different situation. In qualifying, one blocked lap can change everything. The tires are prepared for one attack. The driver creates space. The battery is deployed. The braking points are planned. Then another car appears in the wrong place. The lap can be damaged before the driver even reaches the next corner. Imagine preparing to sprint through an open doorway. You build speed. You choose your line. Then someone steps across the entrance at the last moment. You may avoid contact. But the run is already compromised. That was the type of incident the FIA was examining between Hamilton and Piastri. Did Hamilton affect the McLaren driver's attempt? Did Piastri lose time? Was the obstruction serious enough to justify a penalty? Those were real questions. But they were sporting questions, not technical questions. The FIA was examining what happened on the circuit. It was not examining whether Norris's McLaren contained an illegal device. That distinction is essential. Because once the word investigation appeared beside the words Hamilton, Piastri, McLaren, and qualifying, the facts became easy to rearrange. McLaren was involved. The FIA was involved. An investigation existed. And Norris had just taken pole. From there, the rumor only needed one more step. The investigation must be about Norris's car. But the source does not support that step. Then came the second real FIA investigation. Kimi Antonelli was examined for a possible yellow flag violation after Max Verstappen spun during the final qualifying session. Again, the situation was serious. Again, it had nothing to do with the legality of McLaren's upgrade package. Yellow flags are a warning that danger is ahead. A car may be stopped. A driver may be recovering. The normal racing line may not be clear. Drivers approaching the area must respond. They must be prepared to slow. They must demonstrate that they have recognized the danger. The question facing Antonelli was whether he had reacted sufficiently. Did he reduce his speed enough? Did he continue too aggressively? Did he respect the warning created by Verstappen's spin? Those were legitimate FIA concerns. But none of them pointed toward Norris. None of them identified an irregularity on the McLaren. And none of them created a verified risk of disqualification for the pole sitter. That is the second major clue. The FIA really was busy after qualifying. There really were investigations. There really was controversy. But the controversy did not support the claim being made against McLaren. It was happening around McLaren.